So welcome everyone. We are going to get into some awesome writing and speaking tips, tricks, strategies, masterminding. We're going to do a little networking today. I love to offer these free sessions to you. I want to get you fired up about sharing brave words that change people's lives. So what if sharing your story saved someone's life? Would you worry about it being good enough? Or would you just share it more? Right? So that is kind of the foundation of where I'm coming at today. I want you to stay brave and stay in that knowing, and it's a little bit of a purpose-driven fear in there, that knowing that your story will change a life, maybe even save a life. Effective writing and speaking for business building, the title of this free workshop, it comes from that place. It comes from that place, that passion, that knowing, and that little bit of, ooh, I'm a little nervous about this, but it's awesome because I know I'm going to change someone's life. That purpose-driven fear that you might have about sharing that story. So being brave about sharing my stories, it wasn't only about business building, it was about healing myself, y'all. And it was about changing other people's lives too. But since I've used my writing and speaking in more powerful ways, my business has also grown beyond the dreams I had for it in the beginning. It's kind of a nice side effect. I want this for you all too, right? And that is why I'm here today. So what are we going to do today? So we're going to have about 90 minutes together today. In the first 15, I'm going to tell you a story and then get you going with a storytelling exercise. So make sure you've got your notebook and pen. Then we're going to do some speed networking. You guys are going to love this. We're going to actually practice telling your story to 3 different people here today. You're going to have 5 minutes per share. I'll explain more about that when we get to it. And then I'm going to tell you another story a little later, after which you're going to have a chance to work on yours a bit more with another exercise that we're going to do. And then some of you will have a chance to share it with the group, and we're going to do a little Q&A, live coaching, live sharing. So I got a lot planned for today. Yeah. All right. A couple people still coming in here from the waiting room. So let me make sure I've got it where I can see that happening. There we go. Okay, so, and for some of you, lots of you, thank you if you've been here with me before. I thank you for being back here with me for this, because I know that you've heard some of the stories that I've told several times, and I appreciate you listening again. I appreciate you being back to hear some of my signature stories, which I'll share today. And if you're here for the second time or third or fourth or fifth, what I want to challenge you with is, where in the teachings today, the ones that you have heard before, is the next level brave for you? What's the next level of your story that you're hoping to share? What's the next level of sharing for the next level goal you have for your business building? Okay, so everyone who's heard this stuff before, I'm going to challenge you. Clear your mind of, ooh, I've heard that before. And just be super open to what other golden nugget might come through today that could change everything for you. So back in 2015, I was ready with my second book, and I had already self-published my first book, Baby. We were kind of beyond the getting over the fear of publishing for the first time. And I was actually a little bit more excited because the book that was coming through in that year, I had planned on going to the Haven Writing Retreat with Laura Munson. There's a couple people in here that know Laura and have been there. And I knew that I had to have a certain amount written to arrive at this book writing retreat where I was going to have it edited. And this was like real for me. This was like getting real help for the first time. And I was super excited. And the book had been already moving through me. So I was like getting it out. And during the time that started, somebody sent me an email and shared about the NaNoWriMo program, which is National Novel Writing Month of November. And they were like, hey, Laura, I think you're going to love this NaNoWriMo. You should sign up. And I was so stoked to get that email because this is a free program, month of November. The goal is, or it was in 2015, to write a 30,000 word novel in 30 days, month of November. And you guys might know about me that I'm a little bit of an action taker, right? So I was like, yes, let's go. I already started writing. I was already ahead. I'm just a tiny bit competitive in that department. So I signed up, and in the end of the 30 days of that November, I had 65,000 words written. And I was writing a book called Love in a Nightmare, detailing every single wound of my childhood. And I thought this was the book, right? And I couldn't believe that 65,000 words came out of me. And at the end of that time, about a month later, after I was finished and trying to figure out what to do next, I actually attached that book to an email. And on Christmas Eve of 2015, I sent it to my family. And I was not sure what to expect. I don't even know, what I expected at that point, except I knew that I was prioritizing my healing and I wanted some sort of witness. Well, moving the words out of me, moving words out of you, journaling your stories is that first level of witness. You're moving it out of your head and onto the paper. That is why when you journal, you engage in a narrative therapy of sorts. You're becoming a witness. You get to read your own words. You look down at them and sometimes think, whoa, do I think that? Do I believe that? And so the process was extremely therapeutic. I did not censor my stories. I wrote out every single thing I could remember from as far back as I could remember. No joke about the 65,000 words. I think probably most all of you have at least that many words to move out of you. My family still talks to me, by the way, after I sent them that book. And it actually sparked conversations I didn't expect. I got a couple of crazy comments, one from my dad who was like, you better not publish that. So I did get that comment from him. I don't even know if it's my mom, my dad, and my sister at the time who I sent it to. And I don't even know if the three of them even read it or how much they read, but my dad read enough to make that comment, right? So I realized later that that would never be the book that you all read. The book that you have read, some of you, is sitting behind my shoulder there. It's Brave Healing. And it was the one where I had to look at the stories that were out on the paper. I went to the Haven Writing Retreat at that point with Brave Healing partially started. Well, not partially, there was, a couple words down on paper. Realized as I looked at it with her help that I would have to rewrite that entire book, and I did. And the writing was the feng shui I needed to do of my own soul, the clean out, so that the real book that was published and the world could read could come through me. I needed to clear the space. I needed to prioritize my own healing. And that was probably one of the most transformational moments of my writing life. And obviously a signature story that I share a lot, that a lot of you have heard before. So, what are the stories and moments in your life that were a transformation, a pivot, a tragedy that you overcame, a lesson that you learned, a moment that shifted you and helped you create whatever that was moving forward. Okay, so those are just some of the ideas of how I want you to start to think about your signature stories that build your business. And I'm going to give you a minute now to make a list of them. I want you to think about your life timeline now and think about the stories in those categories that I just listed. That would be a signature story. And I just want a bullet list right now. Like mine would say the NaNoWriMo story. Okay, the time I did this. And see if you can come up with 2 or 3. I mean, 1 is good enough, but if you can come up with 2 or 3, most people who have lived a couple of decades probably have more like 5 to 10 of these. Depends on you, depends on your life, depends on what you've been through. So I'm going to give you about another minute. Get as many of them down as you can, and then we'll come back and continue. And that list, again, for some of you who are just thinking of different ideas, is maybe a pivot, a transformational moment, a tragedy that you overcame, a lesson that you learned, transition time in your life. Any of the moments you feel like made you who you are and helped you lean into what you do today. Okay, if you have at least 1 or 2, type done in the comments for me. And you can, of course, brainstorm your list more later. Awesome. All right, good. I mean, this is not usually a hard task. And one of the best homeworks I ever got from one of my speaking coaches was to lay out the life timeline every year that I've been alive up until this year. And for each year of my life, write in the moments that I can remember, the defining moments. So I did take, I don't know, it was like 5-6 days during that time I was working with her, because you can't do that one in a day, y'all. Like, you need to think about it. I actually called my mom at one point and said, I cannot remember this, and this. Can you help me out? But then as I got through the young adult years into college, post-college, first job, and moving forward, you could definitely see that there were highlightable defining moments in that huge life timeline. I highly suggest you take the time sometime to do the entire timeline. You're going to pull up so many different things for yourself that could create content, stories, different things. Okay. So I'm glad that looks like most all of you got 1 or 2. The hard part sometimes about our writing and speaking at first is we don't know that anyone is listening, right? We think it's just our mom or our BFF that read the blog, and we get discouraged and we say, oh my gosh, this is not working. So writing is one thing, but getting more eyes on your words is a whole nother class called marketing and promotion, right? So don't get discouraged, just share more. You can't share your stuff one time and expect the audience to pop up. And I have some people in this room. I'm looking at you, Lisa and Jeanette and Jacqueline, some of the people who have been with me for the whole last like 2-3 years. How many people would we have in a Zoom room back then? Not this many. right? So this takes consistent passion and sharing. And there's lots of strategic ways to share these stories. And I'm going to try to share as much of that today as possible with you so that you can get going with it. But just remember, be consistent. Okay. So, take a look at your list. Pick one, because in our next few minutes of speed networking, you are going to have a chance to share what it is with somebody. And I'm not saying that you'll share the story, so I'm going to explain this in a minute. But you're just going to share the bullet list version of the story. So you and your partner are going to have 5 total minutes, which means each of you are going to have 2.5 minutes. Please, one of you keep time and don't go over. 2.5, done, switch. And we're going to do 3 rounds of this. So 15 minutes we're going to spend in this speed dating thing. You're going to have 5 minutes, 2.5 minutes each in your partners. What I want you to do is say who you are, the name of your business, what a perfect referral is for you right now, and then the one-line version of the story you picked. One-line version. I'm going to give you an example, and I'm going to put in the chat what I just said. So you're going to say who you are, the name of your business, what a perfect referral for you is right now, and the one-line version of your story. Here's the example. Hey, partner. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we specialize in publishing and business strategy for healers. A perfect referral for me right now is a healer who wants to grow their business with awesome writing and speaking. And the story that I'm working on is the time I wrote that 65,000 word book in 30 days about all the wounds of my childhood and sent it to my family on Christmas Eve. So I just shared that story with you guys so you understand what that is, right? I just shared a one-line version of what the story is going to be about, but that's it. Don't get into telling the actual story with your partner right now. All right. So give me a second. Okay, I think this is going to work out, but you know how the breakout rooms go. I'll give it a shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Okay, if you either, there are some people not on video. If your partner doesn't verbalize and they're not there, just come back to the main room with me, okay? And if I see that you're alone for some reason, if this doesn't work as well as I thought it was going to work, I'll save you. Just stay where you are. I'll figure it out, okay? So go for it. You got 5 minutes, 2.5 minutes each. And if you end up alone, just hang out. I'm going to come save you. Hester, how are you doing there? Are you able to see the button?
I can, but I prefer not to do anything today since it's my first time on any Zoom.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Thanks.
No problem at all. Then would you like to share? Want to share your intro with us?
Oh, my intro is I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, 81 years old. Happen to be friends of Noah and Adriana and Sharon. This is how I got connected to all the books.
Cool. What do you do?
Retired school teacher, 81-year-old senior living the senior life.
And what's the goal for your writing?
Noah said I had to write a book, and so I'm
okay, fair.
whole new approach to whole new topic.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Pamela, want to share your intro? You're muted.
Pamela Pine. I've been working in international public health and development and communication for many decades at this point, a number of decades. Worked throughout the world on some really interesting topics. The focus of my writing is, I would say, if I had an umbrella, it would be truth. And the purpose would be to share that with other people who it might resonate with and benefit. What else? My business, I've got two businesses. One is an organization that I started called Stop the Silence that works on child sexual abuse and other adverse childhood experiences, prevention, treatment, and mitigation. And the other business is really me. I have a website that's Pamela J. Pine, Dr. Pamela J. Pine.com. So it's drpamelajpine.com. And I would like in the near future to step that up, focused on my writing and my life experience.
Awesome. So for those of you I can't see right this second, Jody or Cynthia, would either of you like to do a little intro?
Sure.
Okay, great.
Sorry, I'm just like reorienting since I got booted out.
The breakout rooms are a whole nother level of challenge. I know. Thanks for coming back in.
Yeah. My name is Jody Curcio. My business is The Modern Ancestrix. I am a genealogist, genetic genealogist, and I bridge science and spirituality, helping people expand their cultural heritage, knowledge of their cultural heritage.
Awesome.
A perfect referral for me right now is a person who's interested in learning their biological heritage. And possibly has done a DNA test and wants to know more on how knowing this can help them better live a peaceful existence and fulfilling life. The story I'm working on is my heritage trip to Italy and how it helped resolve brick walls in my knowing about my family, my extended family.
Awesome. All right, you guys, I'm going to bring people back, but Dee Dee, I know I think you were waiting alone. I'm not sure what happened there. I tried to look at everyone. I'm sorry about that. So as I bring everyone back, Dee Dee, do your intro for us.
I'm Dee Dee Bays. My business is Alpha Beta Financial Services. It's a financial planning firm. I specialize in soul-based financial planning. My perfect referral would be mature women who want a fee-only fiduciary who provides financial planning, but financial planning with a hug, because I do it in a very compassionate way. And then my story, basically, I broke the cycle of generational poverty and abuse.
Nice. Awesome. A couple of you joined a little late. We're going to wait for the a couple more people to come back from their breakout rooms. That mostly worked, but sorry about the people it wasn't working for. I'm trying to do my best. I keep you in the main room if I see that there was a problem with you either getting booted out or something with the breakout rooms. So, all right, let's see. Here comes the rest. Let that juggle around there for a minute. Got a lot of people in here today. Okay, cool. So here we go again. And this time you have a minute to say the same thing to your group of 3 people. 10. Okay, if you're alone, hang out. I'm gonna come save you. You got a minute. I'm Laura DeFranco, the CEO of Brave Healer Productions, where we specialize in publishing and business strategy for healers. Perfect referral for me right now is a holistic healer who wants to grow their business with awesome writing and speaking. And the story I'm working on is that time I wrote the 65,000 word book in 30 days, all about the wounds of my childhood. That was less than 60 seconds, y'all. Just saying. Okay, so this takes practice. Just do the best you can. You're each going to have a minute. Give me a second. It's a little, breakout rooms are a little more challenging than you think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, here we go. We'll do recreation. And we will do 10. And you've got 3 people, 1 minute each. Somebody keep time. And really keep time. I'm bringing you back right at the 3-minute mark. Off you go. And there it is. Okay. Click on that room 5, Miss Laura Lee. Okay, Hester, hey, it's you and me, babe, because I know it's tough on Zoom if you've never done a breakout room, but it is really fun. So usually when you're on your computer, there's a screen that comes up that says, join the breakout room. And all you got to do is click on it to be put in the small room with the focus group that's going on. And then I bring you back automatically. So that's how that goes.
Okay, I hear you. Thank you.
Yeah.
That'll be my next go round. Okay.
So I love what Noah and his
Brianna and Sharon,
his sister did for the books. I love their mission. How do you know them?
I just happened to show up at a psychic fair where they were.
Got it. Okay.
Oh yeah, that cross paths. And then every time we show up at another one someplace, there's always another person who can do telepathy. So it's a whole new person for them to expand. It's been beautiful.
Awesome.
Right, because that telepathy is the key thing they needed to be able to tell their story. And so you've got 3 people typing their story on their websites or expanding their book or et cetera, et cetera. So the 2 of them have been able to expand so much more. And then when I show up at the psychic fairs, I get some good conversation. I haven't learned telepathy yet, but that's on my list.
That's a great list to have. That's that's a fun ride. Do you go to multiple shows a year?
It's those I can drive from here. They come to Louisville or E-Town and nearby within 2 hours, 4 times a year so far.
Oh, wow.
The next will be 3 or 4 hours away. Not sure I'm going to do that travel, but I do have communication with them. So when I need to communicate with Sharon, she and I can carry on a good conversation.
Yeah, well, that's a lot though. Coming around to you that often in a year seems like that's that's, I don't know, seems like a lot. That's great. We have a
Well-
lot of things like that in our area too, in the DC metro area.
Right. So that at 81, when I was looking for something to do else to do in life, this sort of like came along, quote, quote, and it's good because then, as Noah says, you've got to go back and do exactly what you said, go through your whole life, do that,
Yeah.
per year, which I had done several years ago. And I realized I got, okay, do it again, yeah. And then pull it up. He says there's a story in there that needs to be told. So that's like, oh, really? And then I get you start telling your stories. You know, it's timely and it's fitting in place. I have the time to do it right now, you know, without being employed at 81. So that's fine. It's a good pusher for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I keep telling my mom that she needs to do her book, and she's almost 76 and she still works for herself and she loves to write. And I'm like, when are you gonna, come on, put those stories down. Like, if you don't do it for you, then you need to do it for me. And I have a sister,
Oh, yes, that's precisely because years ago, because I live in senior housing, and so it was Halloween, and they were telling what they did, these 90-year-olds, what they did when they were a child. And I said, well, did you tell that to your children? She said, oh, no, I had 8 children. So her children have never heard her story. So that's another thing that I've started to do is going to those and recording, making CD and giving it to the family. They have a story now.
Yes.
Okay, you've got the gang back in. Thank you.
They're coming back in another couple of seconds.
Quick question. Do you know any program in which you can speak and it types it out for you?
Otter. Yeah. And otter.ai. You have a hold of my email address somewhere, right?
Word does it also,
What is it?
Laura. Word
Yeah.
does it also, like Microsoft Word.
Uh-huh.
It does it also, and it does a word count for you.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, and Otter, the program Otter is pretty good with that. You send them the recording and they spit it back in words. Okay, so I gave you a little less time, right? Maybe some people were challenged by that minute introduction. Maybe some people had it down. But the more you say it, the better it gets. And we're going to do this one more time, and it's going to get a little bit more challenging this time. Because I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to say the same info. So you may have to shorten it. You have to get a little creative. But when you all are speaking, and let's say you get invited to present a workshop, 45 minutes, 60 minutes, no problem. Y'all are master teachers. You could stand up there and do your workshop without any issues. You could tell some stories, you could teach your stuff. And then what if I said, I want the 5-minute version of that workshop? People like panic because they don't know what to write or speak to condense it into 5 minutes to be as impactful as they were in the 45-minute chat. Well, I am going to challenge you that you can be as impactful in moving people in 5 minutes. You can also be impactful in 3 minutes, and you can be impactful in 60 frickin' seconds. Get good at it. Get good at telling people the piece of your story that makes them put their frickin' phone down and listen to you. And then the idea is to get in a conversation later. Okay, so we're going to try this one more time. Sorry, I got to do a little counting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, you have 30 seconds apiece to do the intro this time. And I'm going to recreate that. And here we go. Okay, have fun. Give it a shot. 30 seconds. Dr. Hill, and I'm not sure who you are, Tara. What is that word? Let's see. Tara Rose Ritchie. Tara Rose Ritchie, are you there? Dr. Makiba Morgan Hill, are you there? You guys gonna join your room, or if you want to just come into this main room with us and play with your 30-second intro, you can. All right, Hester, I'm just keeping the clock on these guys. And we'll be back together in another minute and a half. And we got another writing exercise to do after that.
This is a prior pressure thing for me to line up, which is very good. So I know what to get into, etc.
Yeah, in my sessions, I started some of this networking of just getting people to really be with other people and share who they were, mostly because I know that in the beginning of when I was doing it, it felt excruciating and I wasn't good at it and I didn't feel good at it. And all it was practice and stepping into my voice, learning what that was and practicing some more, you know? And so that's why in the workshops, I try to do as much of this as possible. And we also meet once a month in my free Facebook group. We do a Zoom through the group. That's a free networking, business development. We talk about different topics every month. It's the first Monday of every month. Similar, just to get people practicing and getting to know.
Yes, I realized with the first the four volumes of Ancestor Within, there's 100 people. So I thought, okay, I've got a map of I've got a map of the world, putting a dot where every one of these people lived, and that was 100 lights.
That's awesome.
Books. And look at the speed at which now you can take your total experience and give it to us, and we can speed up, which we thought we couldn't do before. We always had the old of dragging it out, the old aspect of that. So this is a major gift to all of us. And I just, every book, it got like this, the whole map of the world is just lighting up. And to think that there's small, quote, small lights, small practices, but when they're all in these dots, look at the light that we are illuminating the world.
I love that. I love thinking of that. Hey, you guys. So, I gave you more time than the 30 seconds each. Hopefully you guys all got a chance, but have any of you who've come back in so far, did you not get a chance? Like, did everyone get a chance? Got their 30 seconds in? Okay, good job. It's hard. It's hard to do that. Feels a little rushed, feels a little crazy. Okay, couple more seconds here, you guys. Everyone's going to be popping back in. All right. Okay, so practice makes perfect, and you can tell somebody who you are, what you do, and there is a power-packed passion. Love that alliteration. Say that 10 times fast. There's some power-packed passion behind your intro. They are going to put their phone down and they're going to want to get to know you. So I'm going to give you 60 seconds to private message somebody that you met just now in your 3 different rounds and say, hey, here's my email. Let's set up a follow-up chat to get to know each other better. You got 60 seconds to pick someone and private message them, please. Not me. Don't message me. Don't message everyone. Go down to the chat, click on the blue everyone box, find your person. You got to scroll, click on their name. Okay. And then just say, hey, here's my email. Let's do a chat. Let's see what happens with that. That should be a mess, right? 1 minute. Give it a shot. Go for it. If you write down at least one email at the end of this exercise, you will get a prize. All right, you got 50 more seconds. Do, 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 do. Okay, if you're done, type done. So no matter what event that I'm in, if there's a little bit of networking involved and I'm meeting people and I'm there to get to know people and check something out, I always just make it a point to at least connect with one person. It gets overwhelming in Zoom rooms with 30 people. It's like, oh my gosh. But what I want you guys to know about that is what amazing opportunities we have to get to know people at the next level, share our stories, listen to their story, and develop a potential collaborative relationship that changes your business. That's when I get excited. So sometimes it's not the first conversation that you have with the person or the second or the third. Sometimes it's like that fourth follow-up and you guys get into a conversation about mojitos or something and you're like, oh my gosh, and you find something out about the person that finally connects you to them in a way that you hadn't in the first three conversations. So I guess my point there is get to know each other and don't give up. Keep getting to know each other, get to know each other at a deeper level. The networking groups that I've been in over these past couple of years, you know, have been a gift over COVID, really. Developing relationships means that your business will change. Okay, so I'm going to share another story with you now. And this was a big one for me. So 2016 happens to be about a year after the first story I told you. I'm sitting around and I'm on my Facebook and I'm on my business page and up pops the business messenger with a note from a stranger. And she said in the messenger, hey, I read that thing that you wrote in Mind, Body, Green, and I really loved it. And I've been struggling lately. And I wonder if you had any more links for me to read that you've written. And I was completely flattered by the reach out. Did not know this person before then. And so I was right there and able to respond. So I did. And I said, yeah, of course. And at that point in my writing career, I had over 300 blogs about healing. I mean, I have been writing for a long time and blogging for a really long time. So I went away and grabbed a couple self-care links. I realized from our chat that she had been suffering with depression and she told me she was down. So I grabbed a couple links, put them in the chat for her. I said, hey, here you go, you know, have a read, connect again if you have questions or you want to connect. But then I went away and took that a step further and I sat and dedicated a separate new blog to her. She had told me through the chat that she had been suffering with depression. She was a mother of 5 and she was feeling a bit lost in her life. And so I went away after I dropped the other links and I wrote the blog about self-care and I asked my healer audience to step up in the comments. I'd put a call to action in my blog. That was a collaborative call to action. I said, and like I'm saying to you all now, hey, you beautiful, awesome people who know healing, can you step up in the comments and give my friend here some support, some love, some words of advice, some like, yeah, I've been there, you got this type of stuff. And those people did that and it was awesome. And I dropped that link in the message for her later. And I really think that she felt connection for the first time in a really long time. She moved forward. We became friends. She signed up for a class I was teaching. And she went forward to write her first ever 2 blogs for the world. The first one about suffering with depression, being a mom of 5. And the second blog was more of a reach out to other moms about, hey, you got this, right? And during all the time that was going on, and over the class time, and then into her writing her own blogs time, what I didn't know, and I only found out later, was that she had been planning the suicide note she'd write to her husband and her millions of kids. And I thought, all right, if that's the only thing I ever do with my writing, I like talked to myself that day when I found that out. I said, that's enough. You're enough, Laura. Like, you know, if that's the only thing I ever do with my writing, it will have been enough for my whole life. And how lucky and grateful I am to be able to tell you that story. For those of you who've heard it before, you know this has burned a fire underneath me since that year of 2016. There are people waiting for you to share your brave words, and it will change their life, or possibly even save their life. This is a big deal signature story for me. It changed the trajectory of my business. It helped me truly understand that my purpose in life has a face and a name. It wasn't some big cause or vision I was going for. Her name is Shirley. So your purpose has a name and a face, right? And a really great question to ask yourself right now is, who is your Shirley? And you might just write that first name down on your notebook. Who is that person that lights that fire for you, that gets you inspired to the point you get brave about sharing your story? Put their face and name in front of you every single day when you decide to sit and write and create and work on your beautiful offerings, whatever they are, because that light and passion is what's going to be the thing that makes the difference in your sharing, your writing, your social posting, your blogging, your book writing. That's going to be the thing that makes the difference. So when you know who that is, you can set up everything you create from there. So now let's work on your story some more. You guys all looked at your list earlier and you chose one, right? Many of you probably had multiple signature stories that you were bullet listing out earlier. And I asked you all to pick one just to play with today, really, because you can go back and do these exercises on any of these stories. But I want you to pick one of the ones that you're going to spend the next 5 minutes writing for us. And here's a little bit of guidelines for your next 5-minute writing exercise. What is that bigger deal story? You can change your mind and pick a different one, right, than you shared with your group if you want. Either way. Pick one of those ones. What is the story that you want to be known for? What is the story that helps us understand who you are today doing this passionate thing that you do? And pieces of your purpose sit in that story. What ignites the passion? Pick that one. There are some really important pieces for this storytelling that I want you to keep in mind as you write over these next few minutes. Help us feel something. And feel it as you are writing it, like you're writing it to your Shirley, okay, to your person. Understand how she wants to feel. I knew she needed to feel connected again and alive. And I had to conjure that up in myself and understand the energy of the feeling so that the words were infused with it. Think about that. How do they want to feel? How do you feel right now? Take a couple of deep breaths and own that feeling as you start to write for these next couple of minutes. Open up with a line that makes us put our phone down. We'll workshop this at another time. I can help you much more. You're never going to do this in the span of the time of this particular workshop. So no pressures. Don't censor yourself right now. 5 minutes, off you go. Write your story, as much of it as you can. Got about a minute left, a little less. Okay, you'll want to wrap that up now, just at least wrap up the thought that you were on or the sentence that you were working on. All right, you guys, pen's up for now. So, you know what paralyzes people the most from writing, sharing, speaking their stories? The idea that it's not bad enough. And what I want you guys to understand is there are a lot of trauma stories in our lives that need to be shared and will change someone's life. But there are also a lot of joy stories that need to be shared just as much that will change someone's life. So if you've been sitting around comparing yourself to all these other horrible stories that you hear people sharing, and you think to yourself, oh my gosh, you know, nothing that bad has happened to me. I don't know if this story is good enough. Stop that nonsense and conjure up the passion underneath whatever the story is for you, and let that be the place you share from. It will be as impactful as any other story. The next thing that paralyzes people from publishing their stories is the idea that, oh, what if I change my mind and I don't believe that next year? I can't publish this. I don't know what's going to happen. Well, no one knows what's going to happen in their life. That's what book 2 is for, blog series number 10. I don't know. That's what second editions and republications are for, so that you can re-announce yourself to the world and say, hey, you know, back when I wrote that book, Brave Healing, I actually was going through a divorce, and this is what I believed about life and relationships. But now, are you kidding? 7 years later of life and experience, I could tell you that I would probably rewrite that book, right? Which doesn't mean I shouldn't have written it and shared it in the moment. It helped a lot of people. And now what I write 7 years later helps a lot of people. You guys get that? Like, it's okay. You can change your mind. You can have book number 2 and second edition and whatever you need to do moving forward. Don't let anything paralyze you, get you stuck, stopped up from sharing your beautiful, beautiful stories. So some little parts to these stories we're sharing depends on what you're doing, whether you're blogging, whether you're doing a speech. There's lots of different things to this, but when you're opening up with the hook that is a wow, that has people putting their phone down. You know, I started today with, what if sharing your story saved someone's life? Would you worry about it being good enough, or would you worry about sharing it more? That's a question that should have y'all be like, oh, for sure I would share it more. You know, like, so you want to move people, you want to inspire them with those questions, with the curiosity, with the crazy statistic, with whatever it is that you need to do to kind of wake them up and get them ready for the rest of the story. So hooks are hidden down 3-4 paragraphs a lot of the time in people's writing, and sometimes even in their speaking. When you stand on a stage and you grab the microphone, you do not say, wow, it's hot here today, isn't it? You grab the microphone and you say, what if sharing your story saved someone's life? Would you worry about it being good enough? Those are the first words out of your mouth in the speaking engagement, not, hey, it's so nice to be here. I'm so grateful to the people. It's so hot out. Stop that. Make them put their phone down. Open up with a hook. You can say all that other stuff later if you want to, but you're not going to want to after you start to practice this. So the hook is a big deal. I love to workshop hooks with people. It's fun. It's really will change your writing and your speaking. The stories make us feel something, right? They get in our head to the point where people are coming back at you going, oh my God, Lisa, how are you in my head? It felt exactly like you were talking to me specifically. How do you know? Are you spying? You know, it's that good, you guys. You are in their head. You know their language. You know their emotions, their problems, their deepest desires. You have to do your ideal client work. All right. You have to know those things. Interview your current ideal client if you haven't ever done that. Give them the list of 40 questions. Get to know them. And that is where you will be creating. That's where you'll get to know your Shirley. Give us a strong call to action, probably, and I didn't ask you to write one today in the 5 minutes, but you will need a strong call to action at the end of your stories. I've been sharing a lot with you today. After I met Shirley, I knew I had to stop thinking and start doing. My signature course was born that year. And it was the start of the Brave Healer Productions empire. That moment in my life, it drives everything I do for everyone that comes into my world. That course that I decided to run a beta on back in 2016, you guys, best thing I ever did. And I know for sure that course is changing and saving lives. Intuitive writing and speaking for healers. It's a 6-week workshop and mastermind with a blend of healing to help you through your purpose-driven fears, strategy for writing and speaking words that help you build your business. Today, for being here in this free workshop, or if you're watching the replay, if you register for the course that starts on June, whatever the Monday is, 5th, 6th, you're going to get a 75-minute personal business strategy session with me worth $300 to be used anytime during the 6 weeks together. This class will change your business. And I love it. I love this class. I've loved it since the beginning of not even knowing what I was going to call it. There's the link. Click on it now, save it for later. And voila, there was my call to action. I just love to model this for you guys. All right, you've heard a lot of stories today. My call to action is directly related to the stories I've been telling you today. So your strong call to action at the end of your storytelling is going to be the combination of things that move people into the next level with you. You got to build the know, love, and trust with your stories. They have to be vulnerable. You have to trailblaze the vulnerability. You can't surface level or half-ass this shit. You got to go there because they have to trust you before they're going to spend money or 6 weeks with you working on stuff or whatever your offering is, right? I can't wait to start this course, by the way. It's going to be Mondays. You guys will have all the details on the link. Please let me know if you have any questions. And I can't wait to do that bonus strategy session with you guys. That'll change your business alone. It'll be worth the price of admission. So I want to talk about a couple bonus tips around all of this, and then I'm going to open it up because I'd really love to hear some of your stories that you just worked on. So we talked about the hook. That's a big one. You're educating typically in a story or entertaining, or you're doing both. What's in it for the listener or the reader? It's just a good question to ask yourself. So I would be like, what's in this for Shirley? What is she gonna result? What's the result gonna be? It's easy for me to say. What's her result? What does she want out of this, right? Am I gonna educate her? Am I gonna entertain her? Am I gonna inspire her? Am I gonna give her practical tools to use by the end of whatever this is? So it's nice to have a little intention behind the writing or the speaking so that you know where you're aiming for that person. Don't leave that writing or speaking without your call to action, because if they don't know the thing exists, how are they ever going to take the next step with you and be transformed and have their life be changed? Just practice, just like we did today in the breakout rooms. Form some groups with each other and practice your call to actions. And then ask each other, you know, how did that sound? Should I change the words? Did it come off as authentic? Did it feel salesy? No, great. Do you want me to change it in any way? What would you have liked to have heard in that call to action? Practice, 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 practice. It's going to get so much easier and more effective. And then as an entrepreneur, you'll really need to understand what that mission is for the story you're sharing. So today for this free workshop and the stories that I was sharing today and the material that we're working on, my mission is to bring you the next step into my world, into the intuitive writing and speaking course. It's a transformational course. I know it changes lives. The participants have told me, and I have a really focused mission here in the storytelling. But in the beginning, when I was doing all of this, I would be telling stories and I wouldn't really even have an idea what the intention was behind it. There was no paid offering behind it. There was no connection. So there was no effective business building. When you guys align these things together, it's like the magic portal opens up. When these things connect for you and everything is aligned, your efforts will feel effective. And I know that will be a relief to you like it was to me. So remember, you're going to need to be sharing these stories on your email newsletters, and you need to share them in your Facebook group, and you need to share them in the different ways that you're putting yourself out there in podcasts and speaking gigs. And even sending a podcast host, sometimes they ask for the list of questions. Why not get a little creative and send them something that's less of a question, but more of an open-ended, like, tell me about that story when you wrote a 65,000 word book in 30 days, Laura. Like, I have sent that to a podcast host. They love stuff like that because it's a story that I'm going to tell them next. It's not like a quick yes or no type of answer question. So get creative about that. Okay, so what is the mission intent behind your storytelling? Do you want to build your platform? Are you looking for an email, a name and an email? Do you want to build your Facebook group? That could be. It doesn't always have to be for a paid offer, right? I know all of you want to build your platform, your email list. Or is it to set up a discovery call and just get to know people better? That's a great intention for the storytelling. And there's so many different calls to action. Just have fun with them. Try them all. So now we've got a few minutes, and I'm going to pause and just see if anybody has any specific questions. And then I would love for the first 3 people to type their name in all caps in the chat. I would love to hear what you wrote today. First 3 people to write their name. Ooh, you guys are fast. Diane, Katie, one more? One, yay, Pam. Okay, cool. So questions about this stuff. Is there any place today where you're still feeling a little stuck, maybe a little unclear, or you just want some clarity for what you're doing in the world? I'll wait. I'll be patient. No questions, no comments. Okay, yeah, I see you, Jody. What you got?
So in doing this exercise, what came up for me, which I wasn't expecting, was a story that actually involves another living person. Although in this context, I don't have to identify her, let's say it's a her, other than it is about her. How do I put this? And I feel like even though nobody else would know because it's not her name, I feel like I still need her permission, even though it's my story because it involves her.
Okay, there's a couple of things I want to just say about that. You know, these stories need to be yours. And when your writing becomes all about another person, then it drifts away from being your story. And so keep it in your experiences, your truth, your feelings, your sensations, your
Right.
awareness, and your aha moments. And you can
Right.
say, in this event that happened and where this happened, you don't even need to say a name necessarily. This was the gift I received. This was the inner message I received, or the awareness I went through, or this is the lesson that happened when this event happened to me with this person.
Okay.
I mean, that's one way to go at it. When you're offering your awareness process, you're giving us a really big gift, you guys, because we get to learn about our own in hearing about yours, and inner critic or channeled messages or things that you're hearing, the voices, the messages, whether they're good or bad or intuitive or inner critic, it's all written in italics if it's not out loud, direct quotes. And you can do beautiful things with lines of italics where you're giving us the gift of your inner voice. So that, I don't know why you got me off on that one, but just thinking about that. But when you have a question about including a person in your story, usually you're answering your own question by asking the question. There's something about it that bothers you already because you asked me the question. So I would be like, all right, why don't you spend a few more minutes meditating on this, getting really still about, do I have to include that to really make my point of the story? Because you can tell people that you had an experience, right? You can still tell that piece of the story and how it affected you. But I know this is such a common question for people, but usually if it comes up in my writing and I'm going at it, I'm telling a story, writing a chapter, and all of a sudden I want to talk about someone else and my typing stops, I just answered my own question, because there's something there that got me stuck, that's not feeling good anymore, that stopped being flow. And now I got to think too hard. And as soon as I'm thinking too hard, there's just something about that is not the greatest thing ever, right? So there's ways you can do this and feel super great about it. But if you're ever questioning it, I would say, some people who are writing whole books, I will say to you, well, that's what fiction is for. Time to write a novel and change the characters and write a story that has to do with this, but change all your names, change all your sexes, change everything, and just have fun with a fiction book. Anyone else want to give a 2 cents about when you wrote about somebody personally and how that went down for you? I know several of you have been so brave about sharing stories like that.
I wrote about my sister, as you know, Laura, in the Unstoppable book. And I spent a little bit of time, not a lot, but a little bit of time feeling guilty about whether I was sullying her name. Now, I did change the names and I changed a little bit, of other things. But in the end, I thought it was true and fair and helped and would be helpful in enlightening other people in similar types of relationships. And that's the feedback that I've gotten.
Thanks, Pam. Okay, so Diane, where are you, Diane? There you are. So when we share the stuff that we know we just wrote, like I know you haven't had a chance to edit this, it's a free write, it just came out of you. The rule for sharing is that you're not going to give us any backstory. We just want you to read from the first word you wrote to the last. And it's our job to hold a space for this share. And the one thing I will invite all of you to do is, as you practice listening to Diane's words, if you want to type in the chat the word or a phrase that really resonated as she said it, that's really fun for the writer, because later she can look and go, ooh, they love that word. And if you see a word typed that you also resonated with, type it again. Because sometimes when the word is typed 5 times, then Diane will be like, oh, I got to use that word sexy again. They liked that one, So don't let that hold you back from typing in a word that resonated with you. So good, Diane, you understand the
I do.
rules of engagement? Okay, so off you go. Thank you.
Okay. The title of the story is The Break. While on a plateau in southern France during a hot and sunny fall day, after participating in a ceremony to herald in the fall equinox, I broke wide open. I was raw and vulnerable, surrounded by courageous and brave women of the divine seekers. I broke and my heart flooded wide open. I felt a spirit like Peter Pan emerge from my heart. I knew I could never place him back inside my body. This spirit needed to be free, as did my spirit. It was time to courageously face the long-term unhappy marriage I was in, a marriage of complete self-sacrifice, a marriage of being unheard and unemotionally supported. I broke, never to be the same again. I was ready to empower myself, to empower my life. I was ready to become one of these strong and powerful women I admired. I was ready to step into the circle. I was ready to become a courageous and empowered sister.
Thank you. Awesome. You guys, any feedback I give you today, please, I realize that if you are now going to sit with this piece you started today, there's a million different things and ways you can look at your story. 5 minutes worth of writing isn't a lot, but when you allow yourself to connect with your body and take the breaths and move the words out of you without censoring yourself, that's the start. Get the words out on the page. Then go back and workshop them for the hook, the feels, the show versus tell. Some of you have heard that in my book programs before, right? All of the ways that you can make the writing come alive. So for Diane, I was like, oh, the first line needs to be, I broke wide open and realized it was time to end my marriage. That's the first line of that story. I took pieces that she told me through what she read, and I pulled pieces of that hook and brought them to the first sentence. She told me the weather. That's like grabbing the microphone and talking about the weather. And I know what she was doing because she had me feeling the weather. I loved that part of it. And she could do that later. But give me the line. Like, Diane, I have also asked, I've been divorced. I know what this feels like. I know what being broke open feels like. I know what it feels like in relation to a divorce. Give me that in the first line, right? And again, just repeating myself that I know you just wrote this, right? But that's how you can rearrange things and pull people into your signature story. So Diane, in 30 seconds, what's the call to action? What do you do and what would you be pulling people into?
Well, to create the hook in the beginning of the story that people can relate to. And
no, I mean your business call to action. What's your offer? What do you do?
Okay, I am
like right now you're just sharing with the whole room. I'm just
I
giving
see.
you a few
Okay.
seconds. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, I am an empowerment coach and an energy healer. And I work with people who are struggling and ready to release fear so that they can become courageous and bold and attract a joyful life and prosperity.
Nice. Perfect. So everybody who is here still, thank you for hanging out. If you'd like to put your contact information into the chat right now in the next minute or two, then we'll have it to save later. Okay, so go for it while we're moving to our next sharer. Oh my God, where did those go? Katie, I think you were second, right? Okay. So Diane, thank you so much. If you email me your mailing address, I'm going to send you a book. So bewarriorlove@gmail.com is my email, you guys. I'll put my email in there one more time in a minute. So for when Katie goes, same thing. There's my email. Listen in, and if there's words or phrases and you're like, ooh, yes, then just type them in the chat for her. Okay, Katie.
All right, that feedback helped me. Okay.
Good.
Hey, Shame, I see you. She turned to me with her hand reaching outward towards my chest, saying, shh, there'll be time for you in a minute. Those words hit me like a tsunami wave. The forceful energy they carried tore at my insides as I sat paralyzed, unable to move. Suddenly, my legs came alive, carrying me outside, tears spilling from my eyes, running as if my life depended on it, collapsing as the tsunami overcame me. I sat, allowing this cathartic release and accepting my reality until a calm and peace warmed me. Hey, Shame, I not only see you, but I know you're here for a reason. I don't know. That's the end.
Nice. I wanted more.
I don't have
I
the
was like
ending
sitting
yet.
there.
I don't have the end. That's where I stopped. I see, you know.
No, that's
I
great.
Hey, Shame, I see you at the end, and then I put it at the front because I
Yeah.
liked what you said.
Oh, great. Okay, perfect. So you workshopped it in the moment.
I
there.
workshopped it.
Good.
Yeah.
Good job. Good job. Yeah, it's hard to go first, and then it's easier going second and third, right? Yeah, I love it. And then here's just, okay, so the transformation that you ultimately got to, this is for everybody. If you can pull it in somewhere in the first couple of lines so that your reader, the Shirley, like recognizes themselves and what they really deeply desire in there, then the hook is going to be interesting. Hey, Shame, I see you. I think probably every woman or man in this room would nod like, yeah, we've been through that. And then, because I know you a little bit, Katie, like, then give me the piece of the hook that's the transformation you're promising. You guys, don't be worried about giving it up in the first line or the first couple of lines. People are like, oh, really? Give the whole secret to my blog in the first couple of lines? Yeah, because then they want the explanation later. They want all of it once they read the thing that you're promising there, the secret, the big secret. Go ahead, give it up, put it in the first line or two, and then give them all the golden nuggets to getting there down below, right? Thank you, Katie. Email me and I'll send you a book. You got to tell me which one you want because I know you have a few.
Okay.
All right. Pam, you ready?
After I unmute, yep. So this is the beginning actually of a novel that I worked on a little bit more as you gave us those 5 minutes, but it is the beginning of a novel. On January 1st, 2020, the year that changed so much for so many, Persephone, who went by the nickname Percy, awoke with a start and anxiously looked around the room and then made sure that the camera on her phone was covered. She wondered, am I still being watched? After all this time, am I still being watched? And decided she would probably be covering the camera on various types of electronic equipment for the rest of her life. Getting dressed and undressed, going to the bathroom, these were now and forever activities that had changed in her mind. This sensation, the reality of being watched, so uncomfortable as it already had been, had taken on much more ominous feelings over the past 7 years. After making sure the camera was obscured, she laid back, closed her eyes, and thought, oops, I lost it, and thought about the dream that woke with her. She watched herself as she was getting on the metro to go to BWI Airport outside of Washington, D.C. The day was gray and chilly, and initially she didn't think she would be able to find a train to get her there until the next day. But then she realized that that wasn't right. It was leaving at 9 a.m. Then the train almost left without her baggage, and Percy got back on the train with the luggage, but then got off again to speak to a man in a back room somewhere about the schedule. The train went off without her, but with her luggage. For some reason, she was not very concerned, thinking that she could get another train and meet the one that left with her bags. but the train people are very concerned and they call ahead to let someone know that this train is arriving with her luggage, but not her. Percy realized that there are some concerns about luggage traveling alone and without their owner, both because many people will be a bit unnerved to see an unaccompanied baggage, but also because the luggage may get lost or stolen. Percy felt separated from what she really is trying to accomplish, and it's through her own doing. She needs to put the lost parts together and get to her destination in one piece.
So you had a line about covering the cameras that I think could have been the hook, because that's like a shocker line. Like, oh my gosh, covering cameras for the rest of my life. What is she talking about? Like, what, that would have been of like, all right, I'm putting my phone down to listen to what this is, and Pam, you're sharing the start of a full book. You may or may not be sharing a signature story right now. So this is a little different, you guys. I'm just saying that out loud for the benefit of everybody that's been working on, thinking about signature stories that you're sharing. So there might be a piece of a novel that you guys are writing or something else that's big where you pull a powerful signature story out because you're standing on a stage and you're going to tell a story about yourself. Or guess what? You put it on a sales page. So that has to be a little bit different than a book. It has to be different because it has to be shorter, first of all. And it has to pull people into what's in it for them, So Pam, awesome. And it's a little different than what we've been working on today in terms of like what the signature story is. If you're going to build the business with the words, pull the most powerful pieces out of that. And I got the one with the covering up the camera. Anyone else have few of you. Yeah, that was a big one. Like walking around your house going, oh my God. Okay. Do I need to, cover these up? All right, you guys, Pam, email me and I'll send you a book.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in the chat. Thank you.
No, you got to email me. Email me.
Email you.
I need
Okay.
to be reminded. I'm going to mail you a book. So give me your mailing address, just as a thank you for the three of you for reading today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You guys, we're at the end here, wrapping up for these next couple of minutes. I'm so excited about helping you with your stories, both written and spoken, but moving you through, again, that purpose-driven fear so that you're sharing in a way that makes you feel really good and brave and authentic and effective. And you don't have any shame, regret, worry about what you're sharing. These are stories that are going to help pull people into your world so that you can help them. You're giving people a gift when you share. Remember, you're not really having an intention of selling. You're having an intention of sharing a story that helps that person feel connected, period. So when you pull up all your passion inside of that and share more and then practice and then share more and practice in all of these different ways, you're going to start to get in your groove, so to speak. You might have 3 or 4 signature stories that you use in different places in different ways. And that's cool. You can work on what those are, right? So I am going to pause the recording now so that I can send out this replay in a doable amount of time for people to listen to. Please remember to come on over to the link for the class that I talked about today if you want to get to know a little bit more about what that is. If you're signing up before June 2nd or by June 2nd, then you're going to get a 75-minute strategy session. You guys, honestly, having that could change a lot of things for you in your business. I'll put the link here one more time, but I'll also just say it for the replay watchers. LauraDeFranco.com/intuitive-writers. All right. And so thanks if you're watching the replay. I'm around if you need to ask me some questions about the class, and I'm going to stop our recording and chat with you ladies for another minute or two here.